Tonight, the economic vice tightens. Inflation soars as Americans sweat their bills.
It went up like $120 from AC in a month.
And with home prices continuing to plunge, look for a safe place to put their money. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, race and the presidential campaign. John McCain addresses the NAACP, but was he trying to reach a different set of voters? And weighing the diets. The most comprehensive study ever can help you choose which one is best for you.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. We wish we didn't sound like a broken record, but once again tonight there is troubling economic news. Americans are getting it from all sides, from inflation. Today the government reported the second biggest monthly increase since 1982, to the mortgage mess, where a tight market has sent prices tumbling 29% in 1 year in Southern California, and the banking crisis. The FBI is now investigating the failed bank IndyMac for fraud. We have a team of correspondents covering these economic developments tonight, beginning with Ben Tracy in Los Angeles. And Ben, consumers all over the country are really feeling the pinch right now.
That's right, Katie. We all know that gas prices are off the charts, but if you suddenly feel like you have less money than you did even just a month ago, well, you're right, because inflation is taking a bite out of our wallets. At one of LA's oldest family-run restaurants, they are dealing with the new reality of sky-high prices.
Our gas bill, our grocery bill, our produce bill, our meat bill, everything across the board.
They recently raised prices on the menu, but fear doing it again, since their customers are already getting squeezed everywhere they go. Do you feel like you have less money in your pocket?
Oh, sure.
Consumer prices shot up 1.1% in June, much higher than expected. Energy prices are fueling most of the jump, up 6.6% last month, while natural gas costs have skyrocketed, 21% in the past 12 months. For many, that means higher electric bills, forcing some to sweat out the summer with no air conditioning.
It went up like $120 from AC in a month.
Meanwhile, everything from vegetables to airline tickets is considerably more expensive than it was just a month ago.
All these little things add up, and it's like you can't go out like the way you used to.
Inflation like this is kind of like taking a pay cut. Our salaries don't go as far, and therefore people can't buy as much. Katie?
All right, Ben Tracy in Los Angeles tonight. Ben, thank you. Now turning to the mortgage mess, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke assured Congress today the mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are in no danger of failing. Anthony Mason is in Mount Vernon, New York. And Anthony, in spite of that bit of good news, the chairman made clear that the housing market remains in dire straits.
Yeah, Katie, with so many homes like this one falling in value, Bernanke on Capitol Hill today called on Congress to take prompt action on the housing stimulus bill.
On a vacant lot in northern New Jersey, Dean Mon is breaking ground for a 70-unit housing complex.
Are you worried you're going to be able to find buyers for this?
Of course. We're always worried.
That's why builders like Mon are begging Washington to pass the housing bill.
We need Congress's help.
To stimulate sales, the bill would provide a temporary tax credit of up to $8,000 for first-time buyers and allow the government to insure $300 billion in new mortgages to help 400,000 strapped homeowners.
If Congress doesn't help out, what happens?
Well, I think we're just going to drag this out. And right now, I think we see a bleak couple of years ahead of us.
The White House argues parts of the bill would bail out bad lenders who caused the mortgage mess. But many economists now back the stimulus plan.
When you have the economy this weak and you have confidence this battered, maybe some type of federal legislation isn't such a bad idea at this particular time.
Congressional leaders are hoping to get a compromise bill that would include the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac rescue package onto the president's desk, perhaps as early as next week. Katie?
And Anthony, we're hearing there's some talk of issuing another round of those rebate checks to stimulate the economy. How realistic is that?
Well, there have been some calls for it, Katie, but the president himself said yesterday, the first round of checks are still going out, and he wants to see how well those work first.
All right. Anthony Mason, thanks very much. Meanwhile, CBS News has learned the FBI is investigating the failed bank IndyMac for possible fraud in connection with loans it made to risky borrowers. It is one of 21 ongoing investigations of the subprime mortgage industry. So with all the turmoil involving banks, how can you be sure that your money is safe? Here's Bill Whitaker.
Many depositors who flocked to withdraw money from California's IndyMac Bank this week suddenly were faced with another problem. Where will their money be safe?
You don't really know, do you?
What do you look for in your bank? Dennis Santiago is a bank analyst. He says while there is no foolproof checklist to determine if a bank is sound, there are important things to consider. First and foremost, is your deposit FDIC insured? The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation guarantees all deposits of $100,000 or less, but that does not include mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. High interest rates being offered on new accounts. If they're higher than everyone else's, ask questions. It could be nothing, or it could be an indicator that the bank is cash-strapped. Stock prices. If the value of the bank's stock is plunging, find out why investors are nervous. For do-it-yourselfers, the FDIC has numbers and information on every bank in the country and links to experts who have already crunched the numbers.
To learn specifically about an institution, you're going to have to do your homework.
In short, it's up to consumers to safeguard their own money. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
On the CBS News Money Watch, a dramatic turnaround in the price of crude oil. It closed below $135 a barrel today, falling more than $10 in the past 2 days as U.S. demand goes down. As oil dropped, stock prices soared. The Dow rose 276 points, its biggest daily increase in 3 months. Now turning to the war in Iraq. Today, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mike Mullen, said conditions there continue to improve and he may request a further troop reduction later this year. Right now, there are 150,000 U.S. troops in Iraq as the surge draws to a close. 36,000 more are in Afghanistan. But that number could grow. More American troops are likely headed to Afghanistan. Violence there is on the increase, as evidenced by the weekend attack that left 9 U.S. soldiers dead. More on that from David Martin.
U.S. troops have beat a tactical retreat in Afghanistan, abandoning the remote border outpost that was almost overrun by insurgents over the weekend. And Defense Secretary Gates is scrambling to find reinforcements he can send right away.
Do you intend to send more forces in the near term to Afghanistan?
We are clearly working very hard to see if there are opportunities to send additional forces sooner rather than later.
The largest unit immediately available is a force of 2,200 Marines and their helicopters in the Persian Gulf, but they are on standby for Iraq. Another pressing need is for overhead reconnaissance aircraft that can detect fighters moving into Afghanistan from their safe havens in Pakistan.
The border there is a really critical issue that we're going to have to solve, and it has to be solved sooner rather than later.
The Army identified the 9 soldiers killed in the weekend border attack. They were overwhelmed by insurgents who are believed to have come across that border. Gates bluntly criticized the Pakistani government for failing to do much about it.
There is no question that the absence of pressure on the Pakistani side of the border is creating an opportunity for more people to cross the border and to launch attacks.
U.S. forces in Afghanistan currently operate under so-called hot pursuit rules, which allow them to bomb or shell insurgents firing at them from across the border. But now the U.S. military is working on plans to cross the border not just in hot pursuit, but to clear out the safe havens in Pakistan. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
In the presidential campaign, John McCain addressed the NAACP today. This as Americans remain deeply divided on the issue of race. In the latest CBS News New York Times poll, 55% of whites believe race relations are good, but only 29% of blacks feel that way. More now from our senior political correspondent, Jeff Greenfield.
John McCain came to the most venerable black organization in America today with words of praise for the candidate he'll be trying to defeat.
Senator Obama has achieved a great thing for himself and his country, and I thank him for it.
But when he talked about school choice and economic opportunity and conservative alternatives to liberal policies, was McCain really talking to black voters? Or was he talking to white voters who might be uneasy about voting against a black candidate?
most of these moderate Republicans do not want to be associated, or rather do not feel comfortable being associated with a party that's known as hard right. So McCain, in speaking to NAACP, helps to take off some of the edge.
And who was Barack Obama speaking to on Monday when he once again hit the theme of black responsibility?
I know that 9 little children didn't walk through a schoolhouse door in Little Rock so we could stand by and let our children drop out of school and turn to gangs for the support they're not getting elsewhere in the community.
In speaking and using the tone that he has, I think what he really is doing is trying to reach out to independent white voters whom he has been leaking recently to say, listen, I'm not this scary black guy that you have to worry about.
Now, the idea that both candidates at an African-American event might be aiming at white voters, and our new poll that shows these sharp divisions between whites and blacks about the state of race relations, just more evidence, Katie, of how incredibly tangled this whole area of race and politics is.
And, Jeff, in our recent poll, it showed that John McCain had a slim lead over Barack Obama when it came to favorable ratings among white voters. Is there any way to determine if race is playing a role in those numbers at all?
I really don't think so. White voters have tended to vote Republican for the last 44 years. So is that a racial response or a partisan response? I don't think we know. Are white voters uneasy about Obama because of race or because he's relatively unknown compared to other nominees? Your guess is as good as mine.
I was going to say, hard to dig beneath those numbers. Jeff Greenfield. Jeff, thanks so much. And there is much more CBS News ahead. Up next, the remarkable story of a school bus driver driven by generosity.